Today, I've got the 10 easiest crops to grow for your survival garden. Hey everyone, welcome back to Homestead Corner. I am Ginny, and today I wanted to talk about the 10 easiest crops to grow for your survival garden. I think it is so important to make sure that you've got gardening skills. In a long-term situation, you will have to grow a lot of your food and forage for it and things like that. So I think it is really important to make sure we've got those skills down and we know what we're going to have to grow that is going to work for us. So practicing this and growing some food, even if it's just in some containers, it will help you learn different ways to get your garden to grow. Where we're all in different climates, it can be a little bit different for each person, but it definitely, you can figure it out. Once you get going on it, you'll see which things need a little tweaking and which ones do really wonderful for you. So we're looking at our survival gardens. We want to keep different things in mind. When we're growing just a regular old garden on every day, we're not always looking at nutrition and how long it takes to grow things. But in a survival situation, those two things are super important. We want to look at how easy they are to grow, how fast they're going to grow, because we're going to need food probably pretty quickly, and your regular fresh foods are going to run out, and you want to make sure you can keep that in your diet. So looking at the length of time it's going to take is also important. And the last thing we definitely want to look at is nutrition. We want to grow the most nutrition as possible. If we don't have a huge variety, we want the foods that we do have to be really, really nutritious. So let's jump in and check out these easy to grow crops for your survival garden. So the first one on my list is lettuce. Lettuce grows fairly quickly. In about 45 to 60 days, you're going to have full grown lettuce, which is great. And if you grow like green leaf lettuce and things like that, you can get produce off that even quicker. You can start harvesting as soon as the leaves get to be just a few inches long. And if you are select about the leaves that you take off, you can continue to keep picking off it over and over. It will keep growing back more leaves. So I think lettuce is definitely a great one. It's got all kinds of great nutrition and can be added to tons and tons of things, or you can just eat it plain in an emergency. Number 2 on my list is beets. Beets are wonderful. I know a lot of people don't absolutely love beets. We want to make sure that the things we're growing are things that our family will eat, but beets are really high in nutrition, and then you can start them when it's really cold weather. As soon as you can turn that soil over, you can start putting your seeds in the ground, and they're direct sow, so that makes it even simpler than having to start them inside and then move them and retransplant them and all that stuff. When any time that I can direct sow, that is my favorite. And beets are one of those things where the greens are also edible, so you can cut those off 2 to 3 times usually during the grow season, and you can get about 2 crops of beets per season. If you start really early in the season, they do like that colder weather and do really well in it. So you can get them going and harvest them in the middle of summer and then start another crop, and they can go in past the frost. They can stay in the ground, and with the frost, like any of your root crops, it really makes them a little bit more delicious when they get a little frost at the end of the year. So that's also wonderful. And those greens, you just keep eating them throughout the season, and it is wonderful. And number 3 on my list is turnips. Turnips are another one of those vegetables that you can direct sow in the ground. They like the cold weather, the cooler weather. They do really well. So you can put them in really early spring, get that second crop out of them. And you can also eat the greens like beets. Eat those greens as soon as the leaves are getting bigger. The smaller tender leaves are definitely more delicious, but these can be sauteed, thrown in soups, dehydrated, all kinds of stuff you can do with them. They really add lots of nutrition to your diet, and we love to be able to eat beet and turnip greens. They both go wonderful in a salad. And number 4 on my list is beans. Beans are really super easy to grow, just throwing them right in the garden. And you can use your beans that you store for seeds. They start off as seeds, which is wonderful. Just get them, throw them right in the ground, get them going. And again, they can go in really early, and you can usually get 2 crops out of them during the year. If you start early spring, and they again can go late fall. They don't take up tons of room, but they really pack a punch in nutrition, and beans are something we definitely want to have in our food storage. And number 5 on my list is spinach. Spinach is another one of those vegetables that's loaded with nutrition. They're really high in vitamin A, K. You get iron from them. They grow really quickly in about 45 to 60 days. And again, they love that cool weather. A little bit of frost is not going to hurt your plants. They're still going to grow. So as soon as you can get that soil turned over, you want to get in there and get those seeds in the ground. Spinach is a wonderful vegetable, and again, it has so many different uses. And if you're not able to eat it fast enough for what you have, it can be dried and powdered to add nutrition to other dishes. You can, freeze it, can it, all kinds of stuff. Get that preserved so you've got it for later on when your garden isn't growing. And number 6 on our list is peas. Peas grow really quickly in about 45 to 60 days. Again, it's another one of those really fast growing crops, and they are absolutely delicious. You can eat them fresh right out of the garden, which is normally how we do it, or they go into so many dishes really easily. And you could take the little pea out of the inside, shuck them, and you've got your seeds for the next crop to grow. And you can usually get 3 or 4 groups of peas in a season. If you succession plant them, that is helpful. We love succession planting because it continues to give you constant fresh vegetables. And so your succession planting is just, you're going to plant a row this week, next week you're going to plant a different row, and the next week, another row. And if you continue to do that each week, as one starts to fall back and not really growing anything anymore, you can pull those out, put another row in, and keep going, and keep that garden just growing as much as possible to keep you going, especially in a survival situation. You really want to pay attention to succession planting and making sure that you can grow as much as possible. And number 7 on my list is radishes. Radishes are wonderful. They've really got lots of great nutrition in them, and they grow super fast, 21 to 35 days usually, and you are eating nice fresh radishes. We have also grown way more than we could eat fresh, and have found that they are pretty good sauteed. They got a little kick to them and some spice, and you can also cut them up, dry them, throw them in soups, salads, casseroles, anything to add a little kick to it. It really helps it out. Radishes are wonderful. You can eat the greens as well. And number 8 on my easy crops to grow for your survival garden are squash. Squashes are wonderful. Your summer squash are going to grow a lot quicker in about 60 days. Usually you start to harvest, and they will continue to keep growing squash. You don't want to just get your first ones off there. They keep going. But those summer, especially on your summer squash, they're pretty quick. They don't last as long in storage or anything. So I think both types of squashes, your summer squash, like crooked neck yellows, and your zucchini, things like that, are great for quick foods. But those hard squashes that you normally have in the winter for a Thanksgiving and things like that, those acorn squashes and Hubbard squash, they have a really hard skin, and they store extremely well in a cool place. So if you have a basement or a root cellar or something like that, you're able to store them, and they will last the whole winter if you cure them properly. And number 9 on my list is kale. Kale is another one of those things that it's a leafy green. It grows really quickly. You're eating it within about 30 days. And it is loaded with vitamin A and K, and it's just super good for you. I'm not a huge fan of that really pungent flavor, but if you let it go in the fall and let it get a little bit of frost, it's not going to hurt the plants at all, but it does make it a little bit sweeter and a little easier to add into your meal. And number 10 on my list are herbs. Herbs are absolutely wonderful. Most of your herbs are perennials and they're going to come back year after year. They don't need great soil. A lot of them do better in sandy, well draining soil. And even the ones that are not perennials, like your chamomile, dill, things like that, if you leave those last few heads out in the garden over the winter, we try to leave some at the end of the year, they will self seed and come back. And even like parsley, they say that's an annual. I have a parsley plant over there that has been growing for 5 years. It just keeps coming back. I can't kill it. And we are in zone 4B. So you would think the really cold winters and long winters that we get would just wipe it right out. But that parsley just keeps growing and growing. And we just love it. It is great to have fresh. We dry it for the winter. Herbs have really high medicinal properties as well. So they can come in super handy to help with high blood pressure or anything like that, any kind of issue you may have. Looking at different herbs can really kick things into gear for you and help you. So having those in your garden, as many as possible, is definitely a wonderful thing. Herbs, I say, are right up in the top because they not only add flavor, they are extremely medicinal. And that is it for my 10 easiest crops to grow for your survival garden. I think it is so important to be prepared, have those seeds ready, have everything ready, and start practicing your gardening right away. You want to make sure that you've got the skills down so you can take care of your family when they need it. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.